Trevor, thanks for doing this. You're the product of Kelso, Washington.
Yes, sir.
Population 12,000.
Yes.
What was it like to grow up there, which is actually in Washington, but kind of on the Washington-Oregon border?
It was great. Kelso's actually part of two cities, basically touching each other. Longview is where I was born, it says on the roster, and that's 48,000. So there's 60,000 people in the
Deceiving,
area.
okay.
Deceiving, yeah. It's and they're pretty much just smashed together. But yeah, people from Kelso are from Kelso, people from Longview. We're very clear about that. But yeah, generally small town atmosphere. You know, we had one high school, one little league. You know, you had one option if you wanted to play sports or whatever, but you also get a lot of pride associated with that. And you know, it's growing up in the 90s and just no one had their doors locked, and it was just, you know, I just pretty much walked everywhere. I lived near everything, and you know, there was always space to go play and do stuff. So
Sounds ideal.
Yeah, I really loved it.
You considered University of Washington. You also had said Stanford was at one point a dream school for you, but baseball called and you didn't go to either one of those.
Yeah. Washington, actually, a lot of it was being closer to home.
Sure.
And, they had a good program there, and I really enjoyed the coaching staff and the guys that recruited me as well. And a bunch of my friends were going there for academics, so
yeah,
it made a lot of sense. But yeah, Stanford, I fell in love with Stanford when I was a kid, just kind of touring the West Coast. We just went on a road trip with my parents once, and we saw the campus. I was like, and I think this was like 99 or 2000. I think they either had just won the College World Series or were about to. They were very good. And that helped too, because I was really into baseball. But and it was just a great academic school, and it got really good, you know, tech paths. I'm just a kind of nerd, so all those things kind of went together.
Well, architecture was what I understand you were interested in pursuing at that point, but you were also valedictorian of your high school class, graduating 2008 Kelso High. And so the valedictorian, and I'm not saying this cruel, but didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
But you obviously...
That's a joke that I make a lot, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if that was safe to say that, but that's kind of a weird thing. Do you think you'll ever go back to school or finish that off, or time will tell? Or?
I don't know. I've become a little bit cynical for organized school at this point. It's part being older and, you know, maybe craving a little more freedom over my life at that point. So I think that
you've done okay for yourself since
then. That I've pursued the things that I'm into in an academic way in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
So I did go back to school for one. I have one quarter of college under my belt at Bellevue College, and after that I was like, I think I'm good.
You've got a real life education going on here. You obviously use your voice very well. You speak very well. You're doing great here in this so far. You do a lot of podcasts, but have you always been so well spoken? Was there a maturation process? Were you always like this as a kid?
No, I definitely wasn't. I mumble actually a lot. I had a very low voice when I hit my growth spurt when I was a sophomore in high school. It was like it went from kind of high to really low, really fast, and I was, I think, a little bit shy or had a little bit of social anxiety. So breaking ice wasn't super easy for me. So I just had to be like, whoa. But you know, as an adult, I got more comfortable speaking to people, and I'm kind of a performer at heart. I think that in an alternate universe, I would be a theater kid, probably trying to go that route, and I like performing in front of people and doing things. So. And I have a lot to share.
Isn't that kind of what you do now?
Yeah, technically that's performing.
No speaking roles, but yeah.
Every single thing I do is performing. So I like to entertain, but I also like to try to explain things in a way that people can understand as well. So it kind of all just lines up.
Into 2012, now you're drafted by the Phillies. You're in their organization. Into 2012, you're their top prospect in the organization. By the end of that same calendar year, you're traded to Minnesota. I've always seen this with pro athletes. The first time they get moved in a pro situation, it's kind of a weird dynamic, right? A little chip on the shoulder. I can't believe they selected me, then they sent me off, but another team wanted you. How was going through that very first transaction?
It's definitely bittersweet. It happened in the middle of the off season too, so I just woke up to one of my roommates at the time, knocked on the door and said, hey, like it was on Twitter. Of course it was, even in 2012.
Even back then, yeah.
And before anyone called me.
So that's how you found out.
That's how I found out via Twitter in 2012, and it's only gotten worse since then. So, but it was bittersweet. It was one of those years where I kind of had a little bit of a disappointing year by my own standards. I knew that you know, it was probably pretty disappointing for the powers that be as well. And I dodged about 5 or 6 trades at that point. The GM for the Phillies at the time, Ruben Amaro, had a reputation for trading prospects for big league talent. And pretty much all my teammates had been traded up to that point or had gotten to close to the big leagues. So they were kind of part of the immediate plan, and I was just in limbo. So it didn't surprise me very much. But you then flip it and you say, but a team wants you.
Right.
And there's opportunity there. And they maybe run their team a little bit differently, giving young guys more opportunities. They're looking to fill their staff up with young talent and change the way that they kind of go about things. And I saw that as something that was happening in Minnesota. So it went quickly from, man, I'm going to miss everybody, to I'm excited to kind of maybe get a clean slate and not have the last year on my resume.
From Philly to the Twins to the Mets, is it safe to say that you learn something at every stop, or you become something a little bit better with every stop that you've made?
Oh, 100%. Very different places, those three. Though the Phillies and the Mets are or maybe just the whole atmosphere from fan bases to, you know, the stadium and everything. They're a lot more alike than I think they would like to admit. But and then Minnesota's even much different than them. And yeah, you learn a ton about kind of why you play the game, the parts that you like the most, and you kind of grow into being comfortable with being able to go wherever you're needed and do the job that you're needed to do in any given day. And even each team, how it's put together and how its philosophy and how to win games is different. So
you feel that.
You feel that. Yeah. Oh, you feel it in a big way, especially as a relief pitcher. You're affected by those things in a big way usually.
When you underwent Tommy John surgery, I mean, just the whole process from the moment of the injury to maybe realizing what the injury was to realizing the process that you would now be undertaking for more than a year, how did it all start, and how intimidating was that to know, oh my gosh? I mean, a lot of guys are going through this these days. It's unfortunately a common thing, but it's not an easy thing.
No. Mine happened like just one day.
It's like one pitch in an exhibition game, right?
One pitch in an exhibition game where I felt it, and it felt like I pulled like my tricep pulled or something, or that was me being optimistic. But I was fighting for fifth spot. We had a new kind of regime come in, a new manager, and a lot of the stuff that I would like to do, or I wanted to like kind of get my career going in my third year is I just really needed to. I ended the year before as a reliever, and now there was a spot for me again. So it was looking like I was going to get the spot. So I decided I'm either it's nothing and I'm just like banged up a little bit, or I'm really hurt. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But either way, like if I come out of this game at this moment, I'm done. So I threw 2 2/3 more after I'd blown out.
Excuse me, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
You kept pitching.
I kept pitching.
Who does that?
Well, it's actually more common than you think.
Really?
Tommy John, I had what's called a complete avulsion. It literally just came off, like cleanly though. Extremely cleanly, yes. But
the UCL
it's not as
you're
gross
talking about,
as you think it is. It's just basically it's not a big ligament or anything. It's kind of small. So it's just like a very small little thing that happens to be close to a nerve, so it hurts. But I had inkling, kept throwing, actually threw pretty well after, and then came out of the game. The next morning I woke up, it was like, so we got an MRI that day.
They knew it.
They looked, and they're like, man, it's not even there. So it's voles, but easy fix. So I'm glad that I was able to be like, you're getting surgery, it's next week, let's go. Because I've had teammates that are like, it's torn, but you could rehab. Like, that's not fun.
14 months, I think it was for you, right?
16.
16, there you go. That's a long time to not be able to do what you do.
The thing that you
that, and whether you like it or not, that defines you or that you're known for.
Or that you're working towards.
It's like a mental game at that point. I mean, it's a physical recovery, but it's got to be like a mental test. Probably one of the bigger mental tests you've gone through.
Yeah, it's a test But there's silver linings to everything, just like getting traded, I think.
Yeah.
At that time, I had like a little bit of a back issue the year before. I missed a lot of the season. Something that would have been easily preventable. That was what we just didn't know what was going on for a while. I got that fixed, so I was excited, and then to get that in, to know that you're about to miss the entire year and part of the next one, when you feel like you need to reestablish yourself, is scary.
Yeah.
But I also had. That's when I first started streaming on Twitch the year before that. So now I'm like, well,
led to your future.
So let's see how, like, I'm gonna have all this time. So I tell guys who get Tommy John, like, hey man, how'd you handle this? I said, do something that you wouldn't be able to do if you were having to play baseball, because this is all of our time and all of our energy.
Right.
And you miss out, you sacrifice a lot of other things that people your age are doing. So maybe work with the team and see what options you have for maybe going to school. Or I leaned into that, and that was my trade-off for having to live in Florida for
good for you.
So and I just got really lucky that there was a certain game called Fortnite getting very popular at that time. So
your average fastball velo goes from 93 in 2015 to 96.1 in 2022.
Yeah.
Is that part of the surgery and things being tighter or healthier? Like, I'm thinking usually the trend in velo goes down over a pitcher's career.
It does.
Yours has gone up.
There's still time. But
did you know that?
I did know. I did know that the last 3 years actually have been the hardest I've thrown.
Yeah.
But there's some data stuff that's been found over the years that have unlocked a couple things for me.
So there is a reason behind it.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a big there's a big uptrend in 2015. I had a pitching coach named Wes Johnson who saw something, and we worked on it, and I immediately added a lot of.
That's amazing.
In 2019, though, I was half of the time I was a starter, averaging like 92, and then I went to the bullpen. I was averaging over 95, so that evened out.
Got it.
So I knew it was in there. I had seen some 97s and 98s for me in 2015, and then 2016. So all 2016, I also kind of dabbled in starting again, and then 2017 is when I tried to come back as a starter. So like this, once I really committed that I am a reliever, that also allowed me to be more consistent with velocity.
That also makes sense too, because you can exert yourself over 3 or 4 outs or whatever versus 5 or 6 innings.
Exactly.
Of all the pitching stats that we now have here in 2023, and all the things that have, like, I'm even looking up, what does that mean, or how do they measure that? Which ones matter to you most, or do any of them matter to you most? All of the advanced stats. Spin rate to the thousands of RPMs, whiff percentage, barrel percentage.
A lot of it is just like it's monitoring stuff.
Okay.
So I use data to tell me that the things that I already know about myself are either improving or being consistent and maintained. And if things are getting off, sometimes how my pitches are moving or working can be demonstrated, like, oh, that outcome's coming because this isn't moving the way that it does, and maybe we can find that problem. So usually it points us in a direction. I try to focus on almost exclusively on things that I can 100% control. So a lot of that has to do with is like my statistics that I keep for myself. Rating my command for outings and going through and seeing how many of the spots that I hit the way that I wanted to hit them, replaying what the situation was and if I'm okay missing that way and giving myself credit for that. Things like that. That's kind of the high level. But the most importantly, I'm always like my guilty pleasures, I guess, are whiff rate and strikeout percentages and average actual velos on certain pitches. Those also inform things aren't going or are going very well with those pitches. So I want to know if it's a location thing, if it's a stuff, how it's moving thing, or what, if it's a combination of those things. Most of the time it's location, most of the time. And when things aren't going well. When they are going well, it's usually because the stuff in the location is good.
Switching gears big time here. You're a DJ. What do you go by as a DJ? Do you have a name?
Trevor May now.
Oh, just DJ Trevor May?
I grew up. That's what I did.
You had some other alter egos, over the years.
A bunch of them, and none of them really landed very well.
But like, how much can I actually call you a DJ? Like, you have turntables, you have a mixer, you have probably a large playlist. I know there's not albums anymore. They're not actually on real turntables anymore. How'd you get into DJing?
Well, the year was 2010. and everyone wanted to be a DJ during the when basically EDM became a thing.
Oh, we're talking about that too. Yeah.
So
hey,
I was really into it.
Big EDM guy.
I've always loved it.
You know who else is?
Who?
Mark Kotze.
Mark Kotze loves EDM.
I kid you not.
My brother actually produced and made music for a long time. He's 6 years older than me. So, but I was always the kid, like in high school, like I would burn the CD with like stuff that maybe people haven't heard off LimeWire.
The songs you legally downloaded.
Please don't retroactively.
I'm guilty too.
So that just the next step was to like the DJing part. But you know what DJs are? They're performers. So
it's right up your alley.
Like playing music where people were reacting to it, that was always something that I enjoyed.
But I want to talk about your YouTube channel. I know Twitch is big for you, but on your YouTube channel alone, and I mean some of the latest titles here are just enough to sell people. 22 perks of being an MLB player you didn't know. MLB player, you, makes up his own awards for 2022. Or how I went from L to W in 2022. That's great content. I don't want to cheapen it by just calling it content. It's a great idea. You executed well. I recommend everybody check out these videos, by the way. Is it all just your ideas and then you come up with it? Is anybody helping you?
All three of those videos were edited and ideas and recorded exclusively. I mean, I even did all the mix down,
kidding.
And all the music and all the everything. I have like one move, and that's the zoom out, zoom in, or to go to black and white into the reverb. But those are things that I've always loved.
You have 3 tricks.
I got one. I got 2 moves. But we're learning, but I'm getting pretty good at distilling down things that I like from other videos, and then bringing out I like to just mess around.
I've been in broadcasting more than 20 years, and I'm telling you, knowing now that you did all that, that's really good.
Thank you.
I mean, for a pro ball player who it's your side thing, that's really good.
It takes a lot of it.
It's really good.
It's all about time. At the end of the day.
It is.
Put in the time, you can do it. But
gaming, but now as part of live streaming while you play games, is it just the only way to do it is to share the gaming experience with people watching on Twitch?
Yeah.
Is that the reward part of it?
Yeah. I just really love engaging with people.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I really enjoyed building something on Twitter as well. It's becoming a little bit harder to do that these days, but the live streaming stuff, I really enjoy the immediate feedback, having a real conversation with people, and just like people can ask me a question and I can just answer it in real time.
But that's an opportunity. I know you're an average guy. You really are that. But I mean, for them, they're like, I'm talking to a big league ball player here. That's a cool part. Yeah.
I tell that to athletes. Ask me a lot. Like, should I?
Right.
How is that? What word is that? Is it hard? Like, and there's been a bunch of NBA players and NFL players have gotten on the last few years, and their first few streams, they just don't even like look at the side of the screen, which is the point.
Right. It's a two-way flow.
Sometimes they wonder why people have left in droves, and you have to kind of have the energy and just engage the whole time. That's what the best ones do. They don't just sit there and ignore people, unless you're like world class at the game, which I am not.
Yep.
And most athletes aren't.
Are there other people's streams or YouTube channels that you watch and say, I kind of want to be like that, or you aim yourself towards that?
I'm going to be honest, the first guy I ever met or talked to or interacted with really to stream in any real way was Tim the Tatman.
Okay.
Who's a personal friend of mine now. Tim's a really great guy, and I've been able to hang out with my wife, his wife, and us, and meet his son, and his best friend from high school has become one of my best friends.
Real friends now. That's awesome.
He's the one who's my co-host in my podcast. So those guys are the ones that I saw the first time, like in 2016 when I started. And he's another guy he's very good.
Yeah.
But the guys he plays with are always usually better.
Yeah.
And but he's the comic relief for the most part. That's usually what I am in most groups. And we're the same age, and we graduated the same year in high school. So we all got I would have been friends with them. He grew up in Syracuse, New York. I grew up in Washington. But if we grew up in the same high school, we would have been buds.
Last thing here for you on this note, you love the interactivity with fans and sports, and you're actually part owner of a fan-controlled football league. The Zappers is their team name.
2022 champions.
I've heard about this. I don't know much about it. What's the whole thing about the league, and what got you interested?
Yeah, fan control football is like real life Madden, where the fans pick the plays, and it's like 7-man football.
Real players on the field.
Real players on the field.
So they're calling the plays that are about to be run, actually.
Yes, and there's this whole like algorithmic system where the fans that are right the most and that have the highest value plays, that get a higher rating, and then it's weighted higher, and so the highest fans got to go to the playoffs and be like up in the booth and like encourage everyone, hey, we're voting for this. Like they were coaching and trying to convince everyone else to go along with them. And we had T.O. for a bit last year. We traded him and then got the quarterback that took us to the championship. And we had Johnny Manziel for
I saw that,
years. And so, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of guys who, maybe play D2 or D3 or even junior college football and get another opportunity. And we've had a few guys go on and play in the NFL. So that's, for me as an athlete, I thought that was the coolest part. But also, there's just all these star owners. I share the team with Dalvin Cook and Bob Menery's that's why we're called the Zappers. That's his catchphrase. Yeah. He came up with that. I actually asked that question once. I was like, why are we the Zappers? He's like, really? I'm like, okay, my bad.
It's my thing.
Sorry, I didn't know that. I didn't follow you that close. But he didn't know anything about me, so I was like,
we're equal.
But there's, Marshawn Lynch is in it, and and all these ex-Seahawks that I watch play too. So I haven't gotten the opportunity. It's always during the season, so I don't get to go to any of the games. But,
man.
At some point I will, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Any thought on where you would even start the day baseball's done? Would you want to stay in baseball? I think you look, selfishly, want to be a broadcaster. Is there something else you would want to do?
Well, we'll see. There's about 1,000 things I would want to do. We're getting to the point where like, whoever calls first. We'll talk to them. I love you mentioned podcast stuff earlier. I love talking about the game. I love giving context on how things are actually working. I think there's even more outside of the things that I've already kind of made on YouTube. There's so much stuff that people would be interested to see. But baseball's kind of a little bit of a closed ecosystem at times, which I understand that as well, because it's very hard to do, and sometimes you just want to only focus on that. So, but like I said, I'm really enjoying writing. I think that I would like to write some sort of book at some point in my life. I think that'd be a great achievement. I'm really into really nerdy epic fantasy, so I'm writing one of those right now, a story. But I don't know. I don't know which one's going to go first. It is definitely, there will be an element of me either being in front of a microphone, either on camera or not. That's probably where it'll start. I just want something that will allow me to engage with people and maybe tell stories. I think that I want to tell stories.
That's awesome. I think here's how we should end it. I'll look into that camera and say, hey, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And Trevor will then say,
like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.